Okay, here we go. October 21, 2020. This is a checklist to ensure meetings are compliant with the right to know law during the state of emergency. Has everyone heard this before?
No.
Okay, here we go. Okay. As chair of the Winnacunnet School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we, A, provide public access to the meeting by telephone and access by video and other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Winnacunnet board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform. The public has the access to contemporaneously listen, if necessary, participating in the meeting through dialing the following phone: 646-876-9923. The webinar ID is 912-3929-9528, or through zoom.us/j/ let's see, us02web.zoom.us/ I believe that's 5 /912-3929-9528. Secondly, providing public notice that is necessary information for accessing this meeting. The public can do so by contacting SAU office at www.sau21.org. Thirdly, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there's any problems that arise. If anyone has a problem, please call 926-892 extension 103, or email revans@sau21.org. And lastly, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. All the votes will be taken. This meeting will be done by roll call. Secondly, we do have a quorum for this meeting. Thank you. And we're going to go to the next item on that agenda is...
We do need to do a roll call.
We do? Okay.
And Heidi Terracina?
Here with family in and out.
Henry Marsh?
Here.
Leslie LaFond? Mike Rabideau?
Here alone.
Tony Delano?
Here with family in and out.
All right, I have the roll call taken.
Thank you. And let's search this agenda here. All right. Get out of this. Matt, are you ready?
I am.
The 21-22 budget overview, and we'll start with regular education.
All right, thanks, Henry. I just want to quickly provide a summary of the proposed budget. As always, we worked with the administration to develop a budget that provides for the funding and resource allocation that provides for all of our academic programs, that supports all of our students, as well as aligning with Winnacunnet's core values, beliefs, learning expectations, and stated goals. So we feel that we're proposing a budget that achieves that vision, but is also fiscally responsible. Where I think we're all aware of the economic climate that we're currently in. Our communities, our four communities are struggling. We have community members that are struggling, and we have towns that are slated to have a reduction in tax revenues. So it is our responsibility to bring forth a budget that is respectful of the economic condition, um, yet still achieves its stated goal of providing the proper education for our students. So when we're looking at this budget, I do want to just point out a few of the drivers that really affected how this budget, you know, the total cost thereof. So there are a number of large cost drivers. The first of which was retirement. So the New Hampshire retirement system has increased their contribution rates for employers by 3.22% for teachers and 2.89% for staff. So this represents a significant cost to the district, in excess of $500,000. So $504,039 is the increase in retirement costs to Winnacunnet. And that brings the total liability to almost about $2.6 million in retirement contributions. So this is an unfortunate increase that the district is incurring this year. This is based on an unfunded pension obligation from decades past. The state has not been responsible in funding the New Hampshire pension plan or system. As such, all of our every town in New Hampshire, every school district, every police department, fire department, municipal employees, all of those budgets or departments within budgets are seeing this increase. And like I said, it's substantial. It's $500,000. So that really had a major effect on this budget, because right off the bat, we were $500,000 in the hole. Additionally, you'll see that, across the entire budget, our collective bargaining agreement with C, that calls for a 2.75% cost of living adjustment, as well as step increases. That represents a significant sum, as well as two additional special education teachers that we are proposing in this budget, because we have seen an increase in our student population, services through our special education department. So between those salary increases and two additional salaries, it's $756,000. Additionally, we have a vocational program, so that's through SST, Seacoast School of Technology. They have an annual tuition increase, and we've also seen an increase in students. So that program is increasing by just over $82,000. Finally, our transportation costs are going up just under $70,000 for special education, as well as our regular bus transportation. So between those four accounts, we're looking at $1.411 million in increases. So it's really those are big numbers to overcome and to bring forth a responsible budget. However, I do, I give accolades to the building administration, Principal McGowan and his team, and the various departments that developed this budget, because despite those barriers, we are proposing a budget with an increase of only 0.66%, which is $188,867,000, over the previous year. So that's, when you look at the $1.4 million in increases, that's $1.2 million in reductions elsewhere. Where we saw savings were in a few areas. So in information technology, we did reduce costs by almost $70,000. That includes information access fees, technology equipment, repair and maintenance, etc. Our buildings, so that's our facilities department, we're reducing by almost $66,000. And that includes reductions in renovations, auditorium improvements, equipment, heating, fuels, and electricity. But the two biggest accounts that saw reductions were health insurance. We only had a 3.4%, a modest 3.4% GMR, guaranteed maximum rate, as well as some election changes that worked in our favor. And we also reduced that account by $150,000 with the use of our healthcare expendable trust. So we have this healthcare expendable trust with a balance of a little over $200,000, and that offers us the ability to under budget our health insurance. And in this case, we're under budgeting by $150,000 because we receive our guaranteed maximum rate for our health insurance premiums here in October, but we don't actually get the actual premium increase until March. So there's oftentimes a differential. So in this case, we're assuming a 5.5% variance based on previous years. It may not occur. It may come in at that guaranteed maximum rate, but if we are not able to absorb it into the budget, we can utilize this expendable trust, which is the exact reason why we have the trust. It's a great use, and we're able to bring our budget down. The other major area where we're seeing savings is special education tuition. So for out of district placements, we have seen there are the elimination of a few out of district placements, and that's seeing a reduction of $563,000. So between those four accounts, we were able to chip away at that $1.4 million increase. Two other notes before we get into the page by page detail of the budget. We do have actual enrollment this year of 1,134 students, which is actually an increase of almost 50 students from last year. And based on our current numbers, actual numbers, we do anticipate we should remain steady. We're actually projecting increasing by 11 students next year in 2021, 2022. Finally, within every year's budget, we have we propose a cost of living adjustment for our employees. So for C, under the CBA, they receive their cost of living adjustment per the contractual CBA that's voted on, passed by voters. In this case, it was a 4-year contract. Same thing with CESPA for our paraprofessionals, educational associates. They have a 4-year CBA. So that's 2.75% for C and 1% for CESPA this year. And then for our non-union employees, we benchmark our cost of living adjustments based on inflation. So we utilize the consumer price index for the CPI for this geographic area. And we look at July to July of the previous year, because when you're looking at inflation, it's always a year back. So in this case, it's July of 2019 to July of 2020, and inflation during that period of time was 0.8%. So you will see throughout this budget for any non-union employee, the cost of living adjustment is 0.8%. I'll also note that we did look at aligning our salary schedules for non-union employees across the entire SAU. So we have the same salary schedule for everyone. They were very similar to begin with, but there are some slight adjustments It does not affect the actual budget. It's cost neutral. We just slotted everyone into the closest step where they belong, but it does standardize it across the SAU. So we're offering the same compensation for or their salary schedule for all of our districts. So unless anyone has any questions, I will go into the page by page budget, and we can go through. Any questions at this time? I think more people are interested in the Timberlane score than my presentation. All right, so I'm pulling up. Does everyone see the screen? All right, great. So we'll start with salary certified staff. So this is for our regular education students. Again, this follows the CBA at 2.75% cost of living adjustment. We're budgeting $6,750,619, which is about a $230,000 increase over prior year. Please note that we are proposing the reduction of one 0 or a half-time business teacher position. So that reflects a savings of $33,000. I'll also note throughout this budget, we've notated any grant funding. So it's not funded through the operating budget, but like in this case, we fund 2.3 teachers via Title I funds. So you'll see Title I, Title IV, IDEA funding. It's just a reference point, so you're aware of some of our other funding sources and how we're using those funds. So,
Matt, can I ask a quick question?
absolutely, please. Everyone feel free to interrupt me as I go through. Stop, yell at me, and ask any question that you have.
Hey, just curious, and maybe this is something you said and I missed it or what have you, but obviously there's an increase in the teacher salaries. With that, don't we end up having retirees and then some new teachers coming in at I'm assuming a lower pay scale? Does that have any effect? I mean, do these numbers ever go down, or do we just only see them always increasing?
Yeah, so when there is employee turnover, there typically you do see a savings because, like you said, usually when someone leaves, they're retiring, so they're at the top of and they're typically at the top of the schedule. And when you look to hire someone, oftentimes someone who's in the market looking for a job is lower on the salary scale. So that's oftentimes the case. Generally, yes, every year there is a cost of living adjustment, so that's always increasing. But depending on staffing changes, you might see some savings in that regard. I know one of our other districts saw a large amount of turnover this past year, and they actually did see a reduction on this line item. So it's really from year to year. Generally speaking, you're going to see an increase unless there is a lot of turnover. So,
Matt, in this budget, in the past, we've had staff and teachers' names on this. Does that create a problem where we're open and this is a work session?
yes. So
yes.
Good question. Good question, Henry. And yes, it's the same document with everyone's names on it. This is a public meeting and a public document. And it always has been, although to your point, it's a little more visible if in this setting, because there might, in the past, we've never really had an audience at these meetings in person, whereas there's a higher likelihood of people watching.
Well, my question is that this is not an approved budget. This is just a budget, the budget sheet for a work session. And that's my question.
Yeah, it's not approved yet, but it is a public document that any anyone has access to it. If someone called me up and made a request or emailed me, I'd be obligated to provide it to them, even with it not being approved. But so,
No, I was just trying to protect the teachers.
well, I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time looking at individual salaries. But again, it's somewhat unavoidable because it is public information. So we'll certainly be cognizant of that and move quickly.
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate that thought. All right, so the next item is salaries tutors. We've just kept $1 in this account to keep the account open. Salaries ROTC is for our ROTC program. So this is budgeted at $182,866, which reflects an estimated increase in their salaries. However, I will note that this is the salary increase for the ROTC program instructors is based on is determined by the U.S. Marine Corps. We do not determine that, so they notify us. It's well after the budget season, but we've included our increase, so it might vary slightly from the actual. Page 9 is salaries, leaders, and supervisors. We budgeted $34,659. So this includes chemical safety officer, our mentor program, in-school suspension, and detention supervisor. Page 10 is the salaries for our parking lot monitor, which reflects the 0.8% increase. Page 11 is our budget for substitute teachers, which we're budgeting at $88,500, which is level funded. Page 12, we've budgeted $46,336 for our ESOL services. So this is the shared ESOL teacher that is shared between Winnacunnet, Northampton, Hampton Falls, and Southampton, where we achieve, receiving better services by having a full-time employee with dedicated time, as well as a decreased cost to the individual districts. And is really a testament to that new SAU philosophy of shared services. Page 13, we've reduced our repair and maintenance equipment account by $500 to $3,000. This provides repairing and maintaining our instructional equipment. So you can see that it's broken out by department: arts, tech ed, science, family and consumer science, and music. Page 14, we've budgeted $78,000 for supplies. So you'll see this is an $18,000 reduction from last year. You'll see each of the departments are broken out. For the most part, there's they are fairly similar. However, you'll notice that there's an $8,000 decrease for art. There's a $1,500 decrease for family and consumer science, $800 for tech ed, and then a few $100s here and there in the other departments. Page 15, we budgeted $26,950 for books, print, and media. This is about a $6,600 decrease. This is for textbooks, general literature, manuals, periodicals. Again, you'll see that it's broken out by department. There's a reduction in our business books that are necessary, a reduction in our family and consumer science, an increase for our math books, and otherwise they're fairly static. Page 16, we budgeted $85,350 for equipment. You'll see this represents about a $25,000 decrease. This is due to primarily due to the decrease in the music department from 14,000 to 3,500. If you recall, last year we made a fairly significant investment in our marching band equipment. There's also some slight decreases in our science department, media department, physical education, and arts.
Matt, excuse
Yes.
me, what is FACS, F-A-C-S?
So that's family and consumer science.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we're going to move on to special education. So page 18 is the salary for our director. Page 19 is the salaries for our certified staff, which is $1,114,215, which is an increase of about $250,000. So this reflects two additional teachers. We've seen some significant increases in our identified students. There are currently 184 students. I think it was 2 years ago, we were at 150, and next year we're going to be over 200. So there's a clear, we're looking at, an ideal caseload of between 12 and 15 students per teacher, to an actual of, with our current staffing, an actual of like 18 to 19 students per teacher. So it really is critical to provide those two additional teachers in order to reduce those caseloads and to be able to service these vulnerable students. Page 20, we budgeted $350,561 for our specialists. So this includes our school psychologists, our counselors, social workers, and transition and out of district coordinator. Additionally, you'll see ESY. So that's our extended school year. That's our summer program. So there are summer stipends included for that summer program. Page 21 is salaries for our educational associates. So these employees fall under our CESPA CBA. They're budgeted at $404,703. So you'll see there is an increase of about $15,000, which is reflective of the cost of living adjustment and step increases as dictated in their CBA. Page 22, we have $1 for out of district EAs. There's no current need, but that we're keeping that account open. Page 23, we budgeted $1,500 for salaries of tutors. You'll notice that this is a increase of $750. However, if you look back 1 year, we expended almost $3,300 in 2019-20, and this is an increased need that we do need to provide. Page 24, we budgeted $53,223 for administrative assistant for the special services department. Page 25, we budgeted $5,225 for workshop seminars. So this account provides for our special education staff to attend any seminar, to provide in-service training, any annual conferences or workshops. And it is outlined for, you'll see the various conferences and workshops that we anticipate sending our employees to.
Hey, Matt, it's
Yeah.
Leslie. Quick question on that. Is that high enough given where we are in the world? Should we be putting more in that for that staff?
So we work closely with Raymond Pillsbury, the director of student special services, and he felt that this was a the appropriate I guess funding for PD. I'll also note that this is only a component of our professional development that we offer. So we also offer SAU wide and building level PD and in-service training. And I think there's there's a good amount of that type of training that I think will address, kind of what you're looking at as far as, those overall wellness, self-care, mental health type of issues. Caroline's really done amazing. Dr. Arkalian has done amazing work in really putting those issues to the forefront and addressing them for our employees, because it is extremely important. So I will certainly double check with both Raymond and Caroline, but I do think that this is appropriate. Thank you for
Okay,
asking.
thanks. Appreciate it.
Page 26, we've level funded professional services at $75,000. So this is contracted services. So, if we need to, contract out speech and language therapy, SLPs, physical therapy, OT, any other type of consultation services from an outside vendor, that's where this account would come from. We typically will supplement this with IDEA funds. So you'll see we do have a chart here that indicates our funding via IDEA, and you'll see that a robust funding has occurred via that funding source, and we do anticipate utilizing IDEA in 2021, 2022 as well. Page 27, we've level funded evaluations testing at $5,000. You'll see our expenditure history is right in that range, and we expect that to continue. Page 28, we've level funded legal at $11,000. This is a volatile account and can vary year to year. However, we feel comfortable with the $11,000. Page 29, we've left $1 in repair and maintenance of equipment. Page 30, we've budgeted $1,200 for rental and lease equipment. So this is for the copier machine in the special education department. So you'll see we've signed we've contracted with Canon for an SAU wide copier agreement to achieve some economies of scale and savings. It actually looks like a big increase later on in the budget. However, it's because it was separated out into so many different accounts, and toner and ink were all in different supply accounts. But overall, by consolidating our copier services and our printer services, we're able to save a significant amount of money and get all new equipment, which is a real benefit to our schools. But in this specific account is seeing a decrease of $1,750, and that's representative of the type of savings that we're seeing for our copiers and printers. Page 31, we've budgeted $1,452,033 for tuition. So this is for our out-of-district placements. As I mentioned, there was the elimination of a few out-of-district placements. So we are recognizing a significant savings of about $500,000 in this account. Page 32, we've level funded travel reimbursement. So this is for our staff within special services to travel to out-of-district placements, to go to family court or other community employment sites. Page 33, we've level funded supplies at $4,000. You'll see this includes the EBD program, special services, just general office supplies, as well as evaluation protocols. Page 34, we've level funded books and print media at $500. Page 35, again, we've level funded equipment at $1,000. So this is specialized equipment for our special education students. This, examples of equipment can be an FM system for students with hearing impairments, OT or physical therapy equipment. Page 36, we've budgeted $830 for dues and fees. So this is for the professional associations that our special education director is a member of. Now we're moving into vocational programs. So page 38 is the tuition for the Seacoast School of Technology. So we're budgeting $334,110, which, as you see, is a pretty significant increase over last year, about $82,000. This represents increased enrollment, which is a good thing, as well as an increase in tuition. And actually it reflects last year's increase. We have not yet received the tuition rate for 21-22, but once we do, we will adjust this accordingly.
Hey, Matt, quick question again, back on the SST.
Yes.
I'm thinking back, and I thought it was kind of is there a set fee that we pay annually to SST, and then are we charged an additional fee per student? Is that where that number is coming from?
So this is the full amount that we pay. So there's not a flat fee. However, I think what you're referring to is we are responsible. Well, in the past, I think there was a perception that we were responsible for a certain number of students. I think 90 was the set rate, but we have reviewed the contract, and we actually believe at this point that we aren't responsible for that minimum of 90 students. So I think that's what you were referring to, was that minimum, yeah. 90 students that we're responsible for, whether they attend or not.
Okay, thank you.
And we did confirm that when we did go under the 90, we were not charged for the 90. So there is historical precedence. Page 40 is the salary for Director Athletics. Page 41 is the salary for the Athletic Director Administrative Assistant. And again, I'll just note that those are reflect the 0.8% cost of living adjustment, as well as the step increase. Page 42 is salaries for coaches and advisors. So this reflects the extracurricular activities stipends, which are on the preceding sheet. It has a listing of all the activities. You'll see that there is one proposed addition included. So we've had great success with the unified basketball team that the board approved, I think 2 years ago. Adding, it's really been a successful endeavor, and we are proposing to add a unified soccer team for 2021-2022 with a stipend of $2,101. Additionally, I will note that we've reduced the what we're budgeting for this account by $10,000 because even though we are responsible per the CBA to pay all of these stipends, it's only if they occur. So we have a pretty robust offering of extracurriculars, and every year there are some activities that do not occur. So we're budgeting with that in mind and accounting for a certain number of activities not happening. So that's the reason for the reduction. There's also a paragraph, if you're interested, that just explains what that unified soccer team, what it is and what we're asking for. So really it joins people with and without intellectual disabilities on the same sports team. So it's really gained some really tremendous support from the student body, from parents and the community members. And we're really excited to add this team to Winnacunnet's offerings. So these are the listing of the activities. Page 48, we've budgeted $65,000 for official. So this account pays for, ticket takers at games, our referees, an hourly rate if we need an officer at a game. NHIAA sets the fees for these officials. And this represents a slight increase that NHIA has instituted of $2 per official per game. I'll also note that this represents, again, a reduction with the assumption that some games are not going to occur. So some games are going to be rained out, that there might be less, playoff games depending on how the teams do. But we reduce it by the total maximum number based on a realistic expectation of how many games we anticipate having.
Hey, Matt, I'm sorry. Yeah, just a question. 22,000 less was expended than budgeted last year. Is that because of cancellation of sports?
Well, we didn't have spring sports, so that's a big chunk of it. The majority of that, but then there's also games that were canceled in the fall and the winter seasons.
Okay, so the 65 is basically assuming. I have the general question, but it's assuming you have a typical athletic year.
We are assuming that we are going to be fully in school with every season occurring next year. We're not assuming that we're going to be out for any COVID-related or remote period of time next year. So so throughout this entire budget, we are making the assumption that we're in school.
All right, thanks.
Page 49, we've budgeted speakers at $5,000. So these are for, for us to bring in outside programs. In the past, we've done Culture Matters. We've brought in Ed Garrity, artists in schools, library guest authors, etc. Page 50, we've kept $1 open for physician services. That would have been helpful this past year. Page 51, we've budgeted $37,720 in contracted services. So this provides two services. One is an athletic trainer for our athletics, as well as a strength and conditioning coach that we've actually, this is the first year of that initiative, and I've from what I understand, it's that addition has received overwhelming response. People are really happy with the services that they're receiving from the strength and conditioning coach. So it's good to hear, and hopefully we'll have after a full year of services, we'll be able to report back on the results. Page 52, we've budgeted $600 for repair and maintenance of non-athletic equipment. This is level funded. Page 53, we've budgeted $20,000 for repair and maintenance of athletic equipment. So this is a slight increase. Page 54, we've budgeted $50,000 for rentals. So this is for the rental of various facilities, athletic facilities. So that includes ice hockey, indoor track, bowling alley, alpine ski rental, turf rental, etc. You'll see the various items are listed, and they're all level funded. With the exception of a slight decrease for girls ice hockey and an increase for the alpine skiing. Page 55, we've budgeted $17,350 for non-athletic supplies. You'll see it is broken out by the various extracurricular activities. There's an increase in mathletes because we are hosting the regional math meet this coming year. Additionally, our VEX competition team has an increase of $500. This is for robotics. And otherwise, it's fairly similar from last year. Page 56, we budgeted $41,550 for athletic supplies. This is a slight decrease from last year. You'll see that there's a reduction in basketball supplies. There was a slight decrease in lacrosse, decrease in softball, an increase in tennis, and an increase in volleyball. On page 57, we budgeted $33,400 for uniforms. So this is a decrease, about $2,300 from last year. We do have our uniforms on a replacement cycle. So that way we have pretty similar budget amounts from year to year. And this reflects the uniforms that are being replaced this coming year.
Yes. Matt, could you go back onto the uniforms?
Yes.
When would be a time for the board to increase this amount for uniforms? I mean, last year I was watching several of the games, and you can't have a freshman basketball player wearing a former varsity basketball shorts that are older than the player. And kids coming from their middle schools come to the high school, and there's a pride to get their uniform. And there's no pride in many of the uniforms that we have because they're passed down. The only people that get the new uniforms are the varsity kids, and then it goes in a trickle effect. And by the time, on our cycle, when it gets down to the freshman level, the elastic is gone. I'd rather see the kids that are coming in as freshmen to have uniforms that they're proud of. I've talked to several of the kids and the parents. They have better uniforms in the rec department in their middle schools. Just something to consider before we approve this budget, and possibly for you to speak to Aaron about this. Thank you.
So thank you, Henry. So what I can do is I can reach out to Aaron and get a status of our uniforms and see if he has any recommendations for accelerating this, and I can certainly report back at our next budget meeting as to where that stands, and if he recommends any additional purchasing, if that's what the board would like. So,
Hey, Matt.
Thank you, Mike.
Matt, this is Mike. I have a quick question. I don't see either football or basketball listed as uniforms in this chart.
Yeah, because this is reflective of a replacement cycle. So not we have a ton more sports that aren't included.
Right.
So it's every few years it's replaced. So what Henry's referencing is oftentimes the replacement is for the varsity, and then it trickles down. So then the JV gets the old varsity uniforms. And so, considering that the varsity doesn't get a new uniform every year, oftentimes if the JV and the freshman teams, it'll be a number of years out because they have to wait for it to trickle down. So that's where I think what Henry's referencing is that there's a number of teams that may have older uniforms because it's because of the replacement cycle. So
Matt,
I'll work with Aaron and we'll get the replacement cycle and update it based on this discussion.
Thank you, Bill.
thank you.
We'll bring back some information for you at the next budget session. Okay, page 58, we've budgeted $16,300 for equipment. So this is about a $2,500 decrease. You'll see we're budgeting $16,000 for wrestling mats. The current mats are in dire need of replacement, as well as a field hockey goalie gear equipment. We've identified a few other athletic equipment that we would like to replace, but we're deferring for another year, due to budgetary considerations. And that includes a volleyball net system, as well as an outdoor track high jump mat.
Matt, before you move on, we just touched on this before, but the mats, I think, is a great example. I assume they're basically ready to be replaced now. But for example, if there is, I don't know the status of winter sports. If wrestling doesn't happen, does that get put off another year because they won't have another year of wear and tear and it's just kind of deferring? I think that's a question we'll get, but how does that work?
So the first answer is, so that we don't have an answer on winter sports yet. So I can't say if that's going to happen or not.
I understand.
We had fall sports. However, if wrestling does not happen, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we'd still want to, that they're in such condition that we would be looking to replace them next year regardless, correct?
That's correct. We would want to replace them the following year. In this budget year.
But we're working under the assumption that the season will occur. Until we hear otherwise, we're planning on the equipment being used in the winter and in the spring. But again, that hasn't been determined definitively yet.
I would think we'd want to put them in too, like buy them now. They're just going to go up in price too. So, and
that's also a discussion. I think it's important to maintain it in the budget. However, that can be a discussion point at the end of the year, depending on how we're looking for this current budget year. And if we do have any savings, we can certainly bring forth these type of items to the board for your consideration for unexpended funds.
Okay, thank you.
All right, page 59, we budgeted $50,170 for dues and fees. So, this represents the various fees to participate in all of our athletic and non-athletic events. So, math team competition dues, student council, National Honor Society, our coach association dues, our Division I dues, etc. And I'll note, so in many of these accounts, you'll see like last year's expended amount isn't necessarily reflective of what the full year would have been, because we lost a third of our year. So in this case, we lost a third of our year. We lost an entire season. So our expended number is lower than what it would have been. All right, page 62, we've budgeted $61,000 for the salaries for our summer program. So this is for freshman orientation, fresh start, our remediation and enrichment courses, as well as our Sea to Summit program. Page 63, we've budgeted $6,500 for supplies. And again, these are supplies for the summer program. So those referenced, programs, Fresh Start, Sea to Summit, etc., the various supplies necessary to run those programs. Page 65, I'm sorry, we're moving into the evening school. Page 65 is the director's salary. Page 66 is the administrative assistant for the evening school salary. Page 67, the salaries for the remainder of the staff of the evening school. So that includes the educational associates, the teachers, the counselor. So you'll see that there's an increase of about $10,000. Our costs are actually not increasing. What you'll see is there's a decrease in the grant that we're receiving. So this year, so you'll see under spending history, you'll see adult high school grant, college transition grant, and over the last few years, it's been pretty steady. 36,000, 40,000 for the adult high school grant, and the college transition grant's been about 20 or slightly under 20. So the federal government has combined those two grants. And now it's a single grant, and that's reduced the amount that we're receiving. So we're receiving about $10,000 less this year, and that will continue into next year. Page 69, we have $1 to keep the contracted services account open. Page 70, we budgeted $1,400 for supplies. So these are the evening school supplies, such as our student forms, program brochures, our graduation ceremony expenses, etc. Page 71, we've level funded our books, print media at $150. Page 72, we have $1 to keep the other expenses account open. And then we're moving into guidance services. Page 74, we have our guidance director's salary. Page 75, we have our various guidance department staff salaries, which reflects $536,941. I will note that there is an increase for one of our social workers. So all of our guidance staff has an extra 10 days to work, because there's important summer work that needs to be done. And there was one that was only budgeted at 2. So we're increasing that position to 10 days, which I'll note is particularly important going forward as far as, mental health and our social work that we're providing from the school. Page 76, we've budgeted $89,767 for our student assistance counselor salary. Page 77, we've budgeted $1,500 for tutors. This is level funded. Page 78, we have budgeted $87,964 for our administrative assistants in the guidance department. Again, this represents the 0.8% cost of living adjustment. Page 79, we budgeted $26,500 for testing. So this represents the PSAT fees, our advanced placement exams, our New Hampshire Department of Education youth risk behavior and tobacco use surveys, our HiSET testing, and our AccuPlacer testing running start. So you'll see there's a slight decrease in our proposed budgeted amount, and this is reflective of actual spending history. In the past, we've budgeted for the maximum, but there's been less that have actually taken place, so the actual expenditures are slightly less. So this is reflective of a more realistic number. Page 80, we budgeted $2,400 for workshops. That includes, this would be for the guidance staff and could be in, is for Harvard Medical School, Regional College Board, New England Association of College Admissions. Every other year, we send a guidance staff member to Power School University. This is the off year, so that's not included. So so you'll see the reduction is due to the Power School University not included this year. However, please note that next year, Power School will be included. Page 81, we budgeted $10,000 in contracted services. So this reduction is due to a transition of our JAG program. from outside services to in-house. So we're gonna fulfill that JAG program internally through our ELO program. So Donna Couture is going to spearhead that change. And it's a natural progression for that to fall under ELO. It's already been occurring, and we're just taking that next step. So we're really excited about this change within our ELOs. And this does reflect a decrease of $45,000 taking by not contracting that out.
But I just backing up a little bit on that one though, we got a lot of pushback before when they wanted to drop JAG. So,
well, we're not dropping JAG. We're just not contracting it out. Bill, do you want to speak
the same
about
program?
this? You want to speak about this a little bit more?
Sorry, my phone was ringing. Didn't want to have the ring in the background. Yes, I mean, we have attempted to eliminate this program before, and at the time, I think it was more, not so much, I mean, the program was directed to the program, but it was also directed to the person that was running the program.
Right.
We've been able to, as Matt said, accommodate a lot of what we're doing in the JAG program, supporting through the ELO program. Have had several discussions with Donna and the SAU administration that and clearly we have the programs in place and the support in place to continue providing what we can through the JAG program, but do it internally and have better control of it.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. Page 82, we have $1 to keep the consultants account open. Page 83, we have $1 to keep the tuition account open. Page 84, we've level funded supplies at $600. So this would be for new student pamphlets and materials for college workshops and parent nights. Page 85, we've level funded books and print media at $300. Page 86, we've level funded dues and fees at $645. So this is for the professional associations that we're members of, ASCA, National Association of College Admissions Counselors, as well as the College Board membership. We're moving on to health services. Page 88 reflects the salaries for our school nurses per the CBA. Page 89, we've level funded our substitute nurse account at $1,500. As you know, we did increase the rate of pay for our nurses to try to attract nurses to be able to come to our school and substitute. That has been a challenge in the past. This year, I'm not certain about Winnacunnet, but across the SAU, we have seen an increase in the ability to get nurses. So we are optimistic that we'll be able to fulfill this need. Page 90, we've budgeted $500 for employment exams. It's a slight decrease. Page 91, we have $1 for physician services. Page 92, we've level funded supplies at $2,000 for the health office. So this would be, gauze, Band-Aids, etc. Page 93, we budgeted $1,000 for equipment. So this is for our AED batteries and pads, as well as our annual calibration of our hearing machine. Moving on to speech services, on page 95, we've left $1 open for certified staff. I will note that speech and language services are contracted through our professional services budget. So that was back in our special education department for $75,000. We had professional services, but as you recall, we also had we utilize a good amount of IDEA funds in that account. and that funds SLPs. It funds the OTs, PTs that we contract out as opposed to have in person. All right, page 97, we have $1 open for evaluations and testing. Keep the account open, and then we're moving into improvement of instruction. Page 99, we budgeted $321,713 for salaries for directors. So this includes our curriculum coordinator, our ELO coordinator, as well as our ELO facilitator and our educational technology coordinator. Page 100, we've budgeted $20,000 for professional development and curriculum salaries. So these will be stipends for various curriculum work that our teachers do or professional development. If they're part of a, whether it's working on QPAs or, looking at performance data through PowerSchool. We do have stipends for our various curriculum work, very necessary curriculum work. This is a $5,000 decrease. Page 101, we've level funded tuition reimbursement at $60,000. You'll see last year we overexpended. However, due to graduations and anticipated graduations this year, we do feel that $60,000 is appropriate. Page 102, we budgeted $15,000 for workshop seminars. This is a $2,000 decrease. This is for staff to attend workshops, conferences, other professional development opportunities. Page 103, we've level funded professional development for our CESPA employees. So these are our educational associates who want to attend a workshop, a seminar, etc. Same type of professional development. Page 104, we've level funded books, print media at $500. And now we're moving into educational media. So this is the library, essentially. Page 106 is a salary for our media specialist. Page 107 is our salary for our library facilitators at $49,568. Page 108, we've level funded repair and maintenance of our equipment. So this would be for our various technology equipment, such as our televisions, our iPads, our iPods, when we replace our LCD bulbs, etc. Page 109, we've level funded our supplies for the library. So this includes barcodes when we're cataloging, book jackets, low acid storage boxes, magazine binders, those type of items. Page 110, we've budgeted $14,000 for books, print media, which is a $2,000 reduction from last year. Page 111, we've budgeted $23,750 for information access fees. So these are our various subscriptions to our databases and such as Encyclopedia Britannica, FactSite, EBSCO. I think we have a list on the next page. Yeah, so there's Culturegrams and New York Times and New Hampshire Library Fee, Turnitin.com, Science into Context. You'll see that there are two new ones. It's the Science Online from Infobase and Swank Movie Streaming Service. And then we eliminated the Science in Context. And otherwise, they're all the same from last year. Page 113, we've level funded equipment at $3,000. So this would be so we had the repair and maintenance account to fix our technology, and this would be to actually purchase any necessary TVs, iPads, iPods, scanners, DVDs, etc. All right, now we're moving into information technology. As you recall, this department as a whole sees a pretty significant decrease of almost $70,000. Page 115 is the technology director's salary at $102,462. Page 116 are the salaries for our technology staff at $211,860. I'll note that these salaries increases again are the non-union increases of 0.8%. Our workshop seminars we reduced to $3,700. We plan to send staff to PowerSchool University as well as the Windows Virtual Environment Conference. Page 118 is contracted services. We reduced this account to $1 from $17,993. So if you recall, we had identified an initiative with the SAU to share a staff member because there was a need at Winnacunnet for a part-time employee, and at the SAU we had changed that staff member, and we felt that we could create some efficiencies and share that resource across both the SAU and Winnacunnet. However, with the increase in technology needs at the SAU, as you know, we've had a number of initiatives to increase our technology at the SAU across the entire SAU. We feel that we really do need that person full time at the SAU. So we're working closely with Jason, our technology director, to see if how we can still work collaboratively, and the SAU can certainly provide some help at Winnacunnet, but Jason's pretty confident that he can utilize his current employees to fill any gap that might create. Page 119, we've budgeted $4,000 for repair and maintenance of computers. This is a decrease of $2,750. You'll see that we're reducing copier repair parts and computer spare parts, as well as infrastructure repairs and network support services. Over the last few years, we've made some significant investment in technology equipment. So we have newer equipment that needs less repairs. We just switched over to all new copiers. So those old Rico machines are no longer here. So that's not an issue. Page 120 is the lease equipment account line item, which we've reduced to 1. We had previously had a lease that just ended for the Eden Blade UPS power control system. So that lease has completed. And I'll note that when I say lease, it's really financing. So with municipal purchasing, they call it a lease, but it's really a lease to own or a lease with a $1 buyout. So we're not returning the equipment or the vehicle or whatever it is we're leasing. We own it at the end of the term. So it's not, when you hear a lease, oftentimes people hear, car lease, like for personal use, and you return the car. When I say lease, we're keeping the equipment. Page 121, we're budgeting $2,500 for computer supplies. This is a decrease. We're seeing a decrease for telephones, IP phones, an uninterrupted power supply, batteries, and a slight decrease in other computer supplies such as cables and adapters. Page 122, we budgeted $13,800 for information access fees. So this is a change in our internet provider from Comcast to First Light Fiber, which is seeing a significant increase. This is testament to Jason, working with different vendors to get the best possible pricing, so that's a significant cost savings. Page 123, we're budgeting $142,561 in software licensing. So this is particularly important as we've gone remote with the various software necessary to operate in a remote environment, and we will continue to utilize most of this software, and this has really provided a great opportunity because this is one of the silver linings with a remote instruction is that it's really forced us to provide the training and for teachers to get up to speed on technology and utilize many of these softwares or online platforms. So we anticipate the use of much of this technology to continue even when we are back in person. So that is something that is I guess a silver lining. So you'll see that there's some increases in Chromebook apps. There's a number of apps there. There are some decreases for Play-Doh, an increase in Scholastic. We contracted with Zoom, the platform we're on right now, Code HS, Gizmos, Science. We have a Power School registration initiative. That's to provide the ability for parents and families to input data on their student data online as opposed to paper-based. This is really will make it that connection more user-friendly for our families. We are reducing Naviance. We're moving to Score. So that's a college and career planning tool. And then you'll see there's a number of other softwares where we've either invested in or reduced. Okay, page 126, we've budgeted $167,400 for technology equipment. You'll see that is a decrease of about $40,000 from last year. That reflects a reduction in the necessary network switches. That was one-time charge last year. We paid for curriculum-specific devices such as calculators, computer lab replacements, and server and data storage last year that we're not investing in this year. One big investment that we are making this year is the replacement of 25 access points for our wireless network, and then our normal Chromebook one-to-one replacement cycle that we have every year, as well as the continued transition of purchasing televisions for our presentation systems in each of our classrooms. So, in the past, like in years past, you often saw like smart boards as presentation systems. Well, we're transitioning, and we have been transitioning over the last couple of years to large smart televisions that can offer much of that same functionality, but at a fraction of the cost. All right, moving on to support services. Page 128, we've budgeted $10,000 for salaries other. So this is our truants officer. Page 129, we're budgeting for our school resource officer salary. Then moving on to Board of Education, page 131, we budgeted $33,110 for our district officer. So that's for our stipends for school board members, treasurer, clerk, moderator. Great. Page 132, we've budgeted $10,000 for legal. If you're interested, my daughter just took off her Band-Aid, so that's where I was looking at and giving the thumbs up. So,
good job.
My apologies for any loud noises in the background. I'm trying to stay focused, but sometimes it can be distracting.
I think they should be on camera.
They would be far more interesting than me. That's for certain.
Just real quick, Matt. Our meeting starts in 5 minutes. The board meeting. Thank you.
All right. I think I can probably finish this section out, and then we can unless we want to start up right now. Do you want to stop right now?
I think it would be good to have a couple-minute break.
Oh, come on,
You
Ron.
can move a minute.
Only a couple more pages. Let's finish this out. Page 133 is our audit level funded. Page 134 is our annual meeting. So that's a decrease for printing of annual reports. checklist, ballot printing. Page 135 is our postage. So that's mailing out any mailings from the school board. 136 is advertising, level funded at $800. 137 $1 for travel reimbursements, and 138 is level funded at $4,900 for dues and fees. So that's our association with the New Hampshire School Boards Association, as and that's where we get our various training from Barrett Christina, Will Phillips, and the various delegation and workshops that they offer. Page 139 is $3,500 for other expenses. So that's retirement gifts, treasurer supplies, staff breakfast, workshops, and that completes Board of Education. Thank you all. Let's move on.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Great job.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And now we have a 3-minute break. 3.5-minute break.
Gee, bathroom break, everybody run.
Since we have 2 separate agendas for this, I think we need to adjourn the work session and then we'll open up the regular meeting.
Okay.
I'll call for, yes, Leslie, you were adjourning the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And
Second
thank you,
that.
Mike.
We need it.
All those in favor, raise your hand, please.
I will mark you all as unanimous and then we will begin the regular meeting in about 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks.